That's crazy.
I'm not a fan of him lyrically or acting-wise.
Really?
Who's this?
Aries Spears.
Oh, that dude?
Yeah. He said nothing.
Is he a comedian?
Yeah.
Because he ain't never made me laugh, so I don't know if he a comedian.
You don't like anything Ice Cube's done?
Nothing. Ice Cube does nothing for me as a rapper and an actor.
Okay.
Nothing.
What do you think about 50 Cent's acting ability overall?
This is what I think about it.
Hey, man, I gotta listen to this. Nah, this hot right.
A comedian goes on camera and says Ice Cube has never impressed him. Not as a rapper, not as an actor. He laughs, then tosses in a skit that makes the whole room go quiet. The clip spreads, fans react, and suddenly the West Coast is wide awake. But the twist isn't just Ice Cube's response. It's how the culture answered back, and how a third name, 50 Cent, gets pulled into the storm as the guy people believe loves to clown an easy target. This isn't just about an opinion. It's about relevance, legacy, and receipts. Let's unpack how a hot take turned into a career mirror. But that wasn't the whole story.
You don't think that... One of the songs I hate the most, if it comes on, I'm gonna shoot the radio. Today was a good day.
Aries Spears sits down and says he's not a fan of Ice Cube, musically or on screen. Not he fell off, not he had some misses. Just not a fan across the board. He doubles down with a bit mocking Cube and even throws shade at a West Coast classic that most people treat like a national anthem. That's why the clip didn't just trend. It irked a generation that grew up on N.W.A, No Vaseline, Friday, Barbershop, and a league Cube built from scratch. It landed like someone side-eyed the foundation of the house and then tried to light a match. But Cube wasn't going to debate taste. He went for something that cuts deeper. Ice Cube hears it, stays calm, and fires one surgical line. Suckers don't like me. Then another. Spears isn't on anybody's top 10 comedians list. No yelling, no paragraph. Just a measured shrug that questions relevance, not opinion. That's brutal because you can argue taste all day. It's harder to argue impact. Cube didn't try to win with louder energy. He downgraded the premise. Translation: you're allowed to talk, but who's actually listening?
Did you hear what he said?
What'd he say?
He said it was nothing about you impresses him. From movies to rapping, nothing at all impresses him. And I'm like, wow, like what?
Suckers usually don't like me. You know what I'm saying? Like the people that, you know, they usually don't like me when they coming from that angle. That's cool though. You know, everybody got their opinion, and they all stink. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's cool. You know, he entitled to his opinion. It's the feeling is mutual. You know, I don't think he on anybody's list of top 10 comedians. You know what I mean? In the black community for sure. I don't even know if he's on the register.
And that's when Aries tried to flip the frame. Spears jumps back on camera and says he's allowed to dislike Cube's artistry. True, but the internet doesn't grade the right to an opinion. It grades timing, tone, and track record. When you present a take that dismissive, does nothing for me. People don't ask, is he allowed to say that? They ask, why now? And based on what? If you're not dropping new, undeniable work, the audience reads it as clout fishing. That's the relevance test, and online, it's undefeated. Then the old clips started resurfacing. Fans pull another moment where Spears argues that Tupac wasn't the greatest lyricist, more energy and passion than Penn. On paper, that's a defensible hip-hop debate. In reality, combining that with dissing Cube reads like a pattern to the audience, diminishing the very pillars that shape the West. You can have a contrarian take, but when it hits two sacred names back-to-back, it starts to feel less like critique and more like regional shade. And that's how you get blackballed by sentiment, even if no one picks up a phone. Which brings us to the receipts. When people stack the resumes, it's a landslide. Ice Cube wrote at a historic clip, left a supergroup on principle, and delivered No Vaseline, a diss record that lives on every greatest list worth mentioning. He made Friday, a franchise that defined an era, helped blueprint a new lane for rapper actors without needing anyone set, and launched the Big Three, a real sports league that keeps the name in headlines every summer. And it was a good day. One of those rare crossover records that still scores the mood 30 years later. And you understand why people treat Cube as a civic landmark, not a trend.
Ice Cube was on when I'm just watching music, all of it.
Movies, all of it.
Yeah. I never really seen Ice Cube in films that weren't his. You know, like he kind of produced the vehicle that he was in. And it wasn't like he was just being an actor in someone else's film.
Now weigh that against what most casual fans remember from Aries Spears. MAD TV impressions, a handful of bits, and podcast clips. Respect to the craft, but momentum matters. This is how the crowd decides who's earned the megaphone and who's just making noise. And then the conversation got even messier. Another reason the internet was quick to pounce. Whenever Spears trends, people pull up the civil case from 2022. That lawsuit was later dismissed with prejudice. Legally, it can't be refiled. And the platform that once hosted the old sketch said it had removed it years earlier. Still, the PR stain lingers. Fair or not, it's part of the public memory. So when Spears fires off spicy takes now, he's not just battling opinions, he's battling the shadow of the headline. So why did 50 Cent's name pop into this if he didn't say anyone's name?
What do you think about 50 Cent's acting ability overall?
This is what I think about it. He did a movie with Sylvester Stallone where it was about them in these prisons that were like cubes. You know what I mean? And he played a computer tech. You know what separated 50 Cent from 50 Cent the rapper to the computer tech actor?
Glasses.
Now I'm a computer tech.
Here's where we keep it straight. There wasn't a big, bold post where 50 typed Aries Spears in caps and press send. Instead, commentary channels and fan pages started stitching a few of 50's signature captions and moods. The icy flexes, the check my temperature, I'm ice cold energy, the passive-aggressive one-liners, onto this drama. If there's one guy the internet expects to pile on when someone's already losing, it's 50. So the timeline did what it always does, connected dots, called it a shot, and framed it as 50 backing Cube by default. Whether you buy that read or not, the effect is the same. The pile-on looks bigger, and Spears looks more isolated. And that isolation is exactly what fuels the next pivot. Spears says the backlash proves people can't handle honest opinions. But the clips show a contradiction that viewers jumped on. In one breath, he says he respects Cube as a pioneer. In the next, he suggests none of Cube's music or films ever did anything for him. That's not analysis, that's a blanket. And blankets get torched by receipts. When you frame legends as zero impact, you're not just disagreeing, you're denying history. That's why the audience called cap. So where does that leave this whole episode? The internet didn't punish Aries for having a take. It punished him for how he had it. Timing, random, not tied to new work. Tone, dismissive, not precise. And trajectory, no undeniable drop to anchor the critique. Meanwhile, Cube stays working, touring, albums, business, sports, and answers back with a half smile and a side eye. Culture loves legacy, but it loves momentum even more. One is both. The other is arguing with comment sections. And there's one more irony people missed.
Somebody sent me a clip where Ice Cube responded. He was on a radio show and the dude played him the snippet. And the first thing Ice Cube says is, well, most suckers don't like me. Then he goes on to say, I never heard of this dude. Then he finishes by saying, well, he's just not funny. Well, you can't have it both ways. If you don't know who I am, how do you know if I'm funny or not? So you can't have it both ways.
Aries Spears got what he wanted, viral attention. He just didn't control why. Instead of going viral for a set, a special, a film, or a new character, he went viral for telling a pillar of the culture he's never been impressive. The result? 2 legends, one by name, one by fan theory, shrugged him off, and the room kept moving. That's the real L, not the clapback, but the indifference that follows it. You can say whatever you want about a legend's art, but culture remembers the records, the films, the lanes they created, and it always asks the same question in return. What have you made lately that we'll remember 30 years from now? Ice Cube didn't need a shout to win this. He just stood there with receipts. If Aries wants to flip this ending, it won't be in another interview. It'll be when the next special hurts feelings and we're forced to say, okay, now that was undeniable.